everyone. I'm Matt Towery. This is the Leaderboard, and with me is what I consider one of the top lawyers in the country, a good friend of mine, John Hall. John, how you doing up in Atlanta today?
Doing great, Matt. I hope you're going to get on the golf course this afternoon.
I doubt it. I'm doing Hannity's show radio later, and then I got to do Laura Ingram's show tonight, so I probably won't. So we'll see. It all depends. I might sneak out there for a little bit. We've had beautiful weather. Speaking of golf and leaders and losers, what a week we had in terms of for our leaderboard, where we talk about politics, polls, and events. Another assassination attempt. Another one. It's absolutely shocking that this stuff keeps going on. And before we even get into the leaders and the laggards, the real laggard is another one of these attacks. What are your thoughts about it, John?
I've always been an optimist, and I know that at times people say this generation's going to end the world, and it always works out well. But I do think all of America has got to stop and take an internal point of view and look and try to stop this stuff and not agree with it, not allow it just to happen, not to use it for politics, not to use it for hatred. And we just got to turn around, sooner or later, and especially the younger generation. When I saw 30% of people from age 14 to 29 believe political violence, 30% believe that political violence is justified in these circumstances. Maybe if we're being invaded, that could happen, but we need to change our perspective.
Well, it starts in the schools, and that's where all this crap has been coming from. I will tell you this, folks who follow, of course, this show is about polling, politics, fun, and golf, and not necessarily in that order. But for those who follow the polling, Insider Advantage, we conducted a poll the day after the shooting. The president's approval rating, while it was still upside down, came within the margin of error almost. We haven't released it yet. And 70% of Americans now say they want DHS funded. This media conglomerate that we have of legacy media that won't let the truth get out is also the same media that's responsible to some extent for this terrible attitude that we're seeing developed among young people. Because, when you look at a show, and we're going to talk about him in a minute, but Jimmy Kimmel and that idiotic thing that he pulled with his faux White House press corps dinner in which he talked about Melania Trump glowing, having the glow of an expectant widow. Unbelievable. And then he came out with that BS saying, I was just talking about the fact that he's old. You buying that? You buying that, John?
It's time for him to be off the air. I don't want to criticize Kimmel. You go back and look at his career, and he's kind of been lucky finding one spot after the other. And he does, he's entertaining in some ways at some times, but that's in the past. And he's just mean-spirited. And, he wants to complain about Trump being mean-spirited, and then he does that with Melania. My God, the one person in this country that's not got the justification they deserve is Melania Trump. She is an exemplary first lady, and for him to do that is just inexcusable.
We did a poll back in, I want to say February or November, I can't remember. It was either Vanity Fair or one of them, Vogue, whatever, didn't want her on the cover, and about 65% of Americans said she's been treated unfairly as First Lady. I think that's pretty significant, because that means a lot of Democrats are even seeing that, because you can't get that high a number without having Democrats and independents feeling the same way. I agree with you. I think as a lawyer, here's the thing that bothers me. So at one time, CBS, ABC, NBC, as you know, they're common carriers. They've got a license. They have a responsibility because they broadcast over the airwaves. I think that the regulation of what they say and do has become increasingly lax, because the regulators seem to view the fact that they're on cable. They're being delivered either by streaming or cable. Very few people have antennas anymore. And for whatever reason, the FCC just doesn't come down on these networks like they used to. Can we ever get back to that day, or have we just lost that?
I think it's a problem with the courts, to tell you the truth. It's been so hard. People think that, I'm an all believer in freedom of speech, but there's a limitation of speech. And when you get to be personal and you get to that level and you put it on the airways throughout, there ought to be some limitation. I think ultimately the courts is going to do it because we know legislatures aren't going to do anything.
Well, that's true. And, here we are talking about freedom of speech. You're going to hear the greatest freedom of speech person in history, Terry Bradshaw, one of the great quarterbacks of all time in the NFL, and a great broadcaster, a tremendous person, good friend of John's. Terry Bradshaw is going to join us in just a few minutes as part of this podcast. And we're going to talk about everything but politics with Terry Bradshaw. You've got to be here for it. You're going to love him. He is hilarious and he's brilliant and he's got a lot of good tips. And for you golfers, he's going to put golf in perspective for you. All of these amateur golfers like me. I played in a tournament recently. These two guys showed up wearing the same uniform. Oh, God, please don't pair them with me where I was. He got in my head. Well, Terry Bradshaw explained how not to worry about that. So I can't wait till we can have that discussion with Terry Bradshaw. But in the meantime, let's talk about the leaders for this week. We got Donald Trump's the main leader because, once again, they try to kill him, and what does he do? He keeps his composure, gets back to the White House, gives a unifying talk. I got to say, maybe I'm a little biased, but I just think that he's my number one leader. I want to skip to this one real quickly. You know who number two is with me this week? John Fetterman. John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania. I don't know what the holy hell happened to Fetterman, that he went from being what he seemed like to be a left-wing lunatic when he was running. And I didn't think he had a prayer of losing to Oz. He beat Oz even after he had a stroke. And ever since then, John, this guy has been like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I didn't really follow a lot of his campaign earlier, so I don't know how much of a change it's been. But the guy I see now and the positions he takes and the fact that he stands up for the country is pretty amazing. I think he's a good lesson for all of us on both parties.
I tell you, it's incredible because, back in that election, I was polling that race. We were talking about it a lot on Sean Hannity's TV show and radio show. And I know Dr. Oz pretty well. I think the world of him. And I just didn't think much of Fetterman, and I thought the stroke had probably just rendered him as incapable of carrying out the duties. And even he admits now that stroke was much more debilitating for a period of time than anyone knew. But he has just, on every issue recently that has required any common sense, he's come out on the side of common sense. And so he gets to be on the leaderboard as well. Stephen A. Smith is another one I'm putting on the leaderboard. Stephen A. came out and just said, hey, this hateful rhetoric has got to go. We've got to have an end to all the hateful rhetoric in this country. And I guess, maybe a couple other leaders. I don't really have many more today. Like I said, I'll go to the laggards. One of the laggards is Meta. They've laid off 10% of their employees, and we all know why, because of AI. And you just wrote a book about AI and what role it can play. I think it's what is it called? It's
AI Lies and Murder, about a hospital. It's a novel about a hospital that AI that basically runs patient control and ultimately is accused of murder. And
goes amok, right?
Yeah.
Well, we don't give the whole thing away, but it's a great book.
Well, actually, it doesn't, but you have to read it to figure that out.
Yeah. So John Hall's his books come out under the name Everett Hall. He thinks he's being clever, that he can somehow keep all these people in the legal community who he's such a big shot with from knowing that Everett Hall is John Hall. But everybody knows Everett Hall is John Hall, so why the hell don't you just go to John Hall?
Well, it's my middle name. I'm a junior. It's after my dad. So when I first started writing, I really did it just to be able to get the name Everett out there from my dad. So. Oh,
you did that. Well, that's nice. That's nice. Well, I wrote every book I wrote. I didn't write a single one for my dad. Sorry, Dad. Let's go to, and he's glad too because he didn't read any of them. Also, next laggard, I've got to say is let's get it out of the way now. Again, Jimmy Kimmel. So this guy is going to keep doing this. Because obviously, I guess his ratings for the demographic that he wants come flocking in. I don't know what his ratings are, but do you think ABC will ever let this jerk go?
No, I'll tell you, it's really sad in the media now. If you have a sustained audience of several million folks, whatever the number is, 3, 4, whatever it is that makes you up there, they keep you on because there's enough advertising to go through and do it. Nobody's after quality TV anymore. They're just trying to get that core demographic that'll pay for the commercials. And as long as he's got the crazy people that'll follow him and those numbers, they'll keep him unless society just says stop.
Well, I will tell you this. There's a new boss in charge at Disney. And I don't know if he's going to get as far as to ABC, but I can tell you that he has cleaned up the wokeness and eliminated it from the parks. And that's a good start. So who knows? Keep your fingers crossed. Maybe things will change. Now, let's tell people, this will be sort of our, we'll call this our hole in one for the week. This is something that no one has talked about much nationally. And it just happens to do with Georgia because we're a national program. And I usually don't talk about Georgia politics. In fact, I'm usually talking about national races all over the country. But, John, the Georgia legislature this last year passed legislation saying that you could no longer use QR codes to help count ballots in elections in Georgia. And that was a critical part of the system that has existed, for, I guess, since that new system was placed in by Dominion. And so the QR code is illegal. So you can't have an election based on a QR code. There's only one problem. They didn't fund an alternative, and they haven't told the counties an alternative way to count the ballots. Now, what could that result in November?
Oh, and doing it right here in this legislative session that just ended in April or during this period of time, it very well, we're going to have an election and it's going to be declared void because it just simply can't be counted in the way. And it really gets me, too, because people want to do it for election reform. But what's going to happen is, especially in large counties, we're going to have counting way into the nights, and we're going to have issues where a lot of people, the counties just can't process it. So it's just creating an appeal, and that could, especially with the midterms coming up, it could rock the whole national scene.
I think it will. I think it will. And let me just tell you, you touched on a big point that I had not thought about, and that is that Georgia is already one of the slowest states in the country in counting their votes. In Florida, down here, we use a system where you fill out the little ovals and it scans it right there, and it goes into the little box. And, we close the polls here at 7 o'clock. And let's say I'm doing something for the Fox affiliate here, which sometimes I do the various affiliate, at least I used to. And I'm waiting for the vote total to come in. In Georgia, when I did it in Atlanta, it would be 11 o'clock. We'd gone through the pizza. I would have been on the air 5 different times, and we still wouldn't know who is close to winning a race. In Florida, in Florida, by 9 o'clock, it's over. You're home, in bed. That's how screwed up Georgia is. And I can't understand. Now, here the governor says, well, he's thinking about what he might do, and the election board is thinking about what they might do. But aren't we getting a little late in the process? Is the state that may end up being the one swing state that decides who controls the U.S. Senate?
Oh, I think that puts it on the leader of the loser board, as you say.
Yeah.
But because it is going to be disruptive. It's going to be expensive. It's going to cost litigation and time. And why that kind of planning? You expect your legislators to be smart and to plan through and not do things and just send out to people and say, okay, we passed it. Then what?
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay, so I'm also going to give everybody my secret of the week. My secret of the week, and again, it comes back to Georgia. Why the hell do I always have to talk about Georgia, John? I don't live there anymore. Why am I always having to talk about Georgia? And
because Georgia's on your mind, as Ray Charles
says.
It
is. I guess it is. So, no, I love my friends up there. So I'm going to be cryptic about this. But, I wrote a column some time ago called Debunking the Debunkers, because every time you read an article about the Georgia elections in 2020, you see claims debunked, the numerous claims debunked. Well, I got news for you. The debunkers are about to get debunked. And I have good reason to believe that those ballots that were sitting in the warehouse, and I don't know if they've been ruined. Who knows what the FBI is going to see when they look at these ballots. But there were a lot of ballots in that race that were flat ballots. They were perfectly marked with ovals for two races and two races only. You remember hearing about this, John?
Yeah. Well, there's a rumor mill out there, yeah.
Well, it's not just a rumor mill. I saw pictures of them, okay?
Yeah.
I saw the pictures of them. Okay, I have good reason to believe that as part of its investigation, the government now has those ballots. And when they get those ballots, the debunkers are going to be debunked, because you can't have a flat ballot for a mail-in absentee ballot. It has to have a crease. And when you start looking at them, and if every single oval is filled in the same way perfectly, that did not happen by hand. So just remember I said that. Now everybody says, oh, conspiratorialists, I can't believe it's continuing to push this 2020 thing. Well, guess what? Nobody ever got to the bottom of it. It was all a bunch of bull crap. The audit they had in Georgia was not the audit they had in Georgia. The guy in Berkeley who invented the way they were doing that audit said it was done incorrectly. And so all of and you know about the lawsuits, right? How many of those lawsuits actually were ever found to have standing, John?
Oh, none, hardly. It's been thrown out. There's a couple still pending that's hanging out there, but the whole dismissal of the integrity of the voting process has been disappointing. The only saving grace, silver lining to that loser, is that, thank God, Trump was out for 4 years and came back at this time, because with the things we were facing, if we didn't have him during this time, we would have been in tremendous trouble.
Let me just say also, for folks who follow on X, my friends at Rasmussen Reports are doing a fantastic job of following the 2020 election. And so I highly recommend you keep following what they post, because they really are on top of it and they know what they're doing. Great pollsters as well, along with Trafalgar and Robert Cahaly. We're going to have Robert on real soon and talk about some of the other races around the country, some of these primaries we have coming up. But now we're going to turn our attention to the entertainment part of this. We get a little golf in, but we're going to get a little bourbon in. I have the funny thing about it, I don't know about you, John, all my golfing buddies love bourbon. Now, I can't drink bourbon, but they all love bourbon. And so they're going to love this segment with your friend, Terry Bradshaw. I'm going to let John introduce him, because, John, you actually have known him for a while. Please introduce our guest.
Well, it's one of those stories where you're on a plane and you never know who's going to sit down beside you, and you get this guy and he talks all the whole trip, and you just wondered, can I just work on my stuff? No. Terry and I were on a plane. His commercial, his jet was in the shop. And I was coming back from New Jersey on a Thursday night, and he was pretending not know how to fly a commercial. And so we sat next to each other and then caught up. And so really appreciate it, Terry. It's been a blast, buddy. You are who you are.
Well, John, I hope I didn't realize I was bothering you, but I was fascinated with you more than you were with me. But yeah, it's been cool, and to follow you through your litigations has been amazing, because you never win, you always lose. But you're saving hospitals money, but most of the time you're losing. And I found that fascinating. Found it fascinating. I've always wanted to come and sit in on it. One of these days I will, because you occasionally are in the Texas, Oklahoma area, and when you have been, I haven't been able to come, but yeah, it's very unusual for me to get on a plane and strike up a conversation. Normally I'm tired, and I know you were, but it was a good visit. And I think we went to the Crown Room and had a bourbon, if I'm not mistaken.
We did. And, you helped my cred by introducing me as your lawyer to everybody that want to talk. So
yeah, and then I came back to Atlanta and met your family, and we had lunch. So yeah, it's been a not always together relationship, but one that we've stayed in touch, and so it's been kind of cool.
Well, Terry, we got good news for you here. we're not going to make you say one word about politics. And a lot of this show is about politics and news. We're going to keep you completely out of that. But I'm going to have one quick question to begin
Okay,
with.
about politics?
No, not at all. Not at all. You just recently had the opportunity to see that fantastic football from the Immaculate Reception 53 years ago, right?
Right.
Was it that? Yes.
Right.
And of course, I watched it. We all watched it. The greatest moment in NFL football history. How was it? What was it like?
It was, I kind of was looking at something that's kind of held in the highest regard. It's almost, it was, it was almost spiritual. I looked at that ball because I threw that ball. And the guy that received it has passed away now. And I'm the last part of that connection, other than Frenchy Fuqua, who did he touch it, did he not? I don't know. But I threw it. Franco ended up with it. But looking at it really was emotional. Primarily, I think he's gone. And the other thing is, I've done something or been a part of something that is revered in the NFL. It's held in the highest regard for what it did, what it accomplished. And it was very touching. I'm not going to lie to you, very touching. And then when I held it, Matt, I got cold chills. My wife I was being interviewed when I did it, but when it was over, they had come and they had gotten the ball. The lady had gloves, white gloves on. And I took my wife back to where they have it on display and it's guarded. And I said, "Can you believe that?" And she says, "Well, what'd she say? I was 11 years old when that happened." She put it in the right perspective, but a special moment for sure.
That's great. That's great. John, you guys talk about a lot of things. Now, I do know that you happen to love bourbon. Do you have your own line of bourbon?
Right.
Is that what I read? Tell us about that.
Well, it's called Bradshaw Bourbon. I've never put my name on anything other than my ranch, Bradshaw Ranch, and now it's Tammy and Terry. But I've been a bourbon drinker as long as I can remember, and I always had a fondness of it and fascinated by the varieties of bourbon. And so I bounced around from one taste bud to the other, and those I liked and those I didn't like. And one day, 8 years ago now, I was sitting in Los Angeles and I was on the phone with my agent and we were just chit-chatting. And I said, "You know what, something, Ira, I really would like to find out how I could start my own bourbon. Not that it would have to be a huge success. It's just something that I would like to do." And he says, "Well, aren't you a Baptist?" And I said, "Well, who drinks more bourbon than Baptists?" I said, "Yeah, I don't feel as though God's going to punish me for a business like that." So I had a clean spirit about that, and my conscience, as of this interview, my conscience is clean. But I said, "I want to look into seeing how you get that started." He said, "Let me check that out if you're serious." I said, "I'm serious." Few weeks later, he called and said, "Here's a company, Green Rivers Distillery, that said they'll take on your bourbon. What's your blend?" I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "Put me on touch." So Jacob calls the head. He's the master distiller at Green Rivers in Kentucky, Owensboro. And so I got Jacob on the phone. I'm saying, we're asking, "Well, I like this, I like that. I don't like it to burn. I don't like the taste to fade out. And most bourbons, the taste fades out." And I said, "I don't know if we could even do this." He said, "Let me go to work on it." So he made up a batch, and all you do is you take rye, you take corn, rye, barley, and there's various mixtures. Mostly 51% of it has to be corn for it to be a whiskey. So he started mixing, and he'd send it to me, and ooh, no. I said, "Send me some more." Ooh, no. So this went on for about a year, about 17 months. He kept making. And how you change blends is we ended up with 70% corn, 21 rye, 9 barley. Is that right? 8, no, 21, 19, 19. Yeah, 1910, rye, barley. And so he sent me this batch, and how you change it is you try to get those 3 blends together, and then you add water. And water is what blends it out. And he sent me 2 batches. This had been about 17, 18 months after we started. And I went, oh my gosh, this is it. And so that's how we started. Then I already had the bottle. I wanted a Gunsmoke bottle that you saw James Arness and Matt Dillon. I wanted the long neck. I wanted it simple. I wanted the marketing. I wanted the Gunsmoke label, Gunsmoke. And so the cover of it's a smoky gray, and that's how we started. And we started marketing. Started at the Super Bowl in Miami. That's where I opened it up and started. And now we're in our going on 7th year. We just have won tons of spirit awards. Out of the thousands of bourbons, we won it, which is great. My 12-year-old, which is brand new, that we've had for a while, and we finally brought it out, it swept it. So Bradshaw Bourbon this year, of all the bourbon companies that you can think of, go down the bourbon aisle, we were number 1. We actually won 4 awards with our bourbon.
That's incredible.
I'm shocked. And we don't hardly make any money, and we're we're one bourbon. So it was pretty cool.
Well, I've been known to sit on the dock and drink a little bit of bourbon, and I have to say, Terry gave me a little Bradshaw, and it's well worth it, folks.
Hey, you know what, John? I got to send you my 12. It's brand new. It's now 13 years old, and we bought 1,900 barrels of this blend and fixed it. And boy, it's 136 proof.
Yeah.
So
wow, that's excellent.
Yeah, 2 fingers is enough.
Yeah.
Any more, and you might win a litigation suit.
Maybe I get it to the jury, and it's a sure thing. Then.
Oh my God, you do that, you won't have to worry, man.
Hey,
Terry, we ask you. Sorry, John, I interrupted you. You go first? I'll ask you.
No, I just got him going for a minute talking about the aged bourbon, and Terry, it's been about 10 years ago since I first ran into you, and we both aged a little bit over the time. Yeah. But the thing that amazes me is, not to blow your head up because you don't need it, but you're an American legend, and you're a people that don't know you. You're their best friend because of just who you are and how you act. And sitting where you are now, looking back, what are the things that you're most proud of, other than your children? Because they're obviously fantastic.
Yeah, that's a given. Your children finally got the marriage thing figured out. Struggled with that for years now. Married 22 years, and my wife is my kids. I got 3 daughters, and they said, "Dad, what's the secret?" They're all married. Dad, what do you think the secret is? They're asking me, a guy that's been divorced more than once, and I said, "You know what? I found out. I've heard this. I didn't believe it, but your wife has to be the one you want to spend all your time with." And my wife and I, in 22 years, you ready for this? Have been separated one day. We had one day that we weren't together. Isn't that shocking? And we travel together. We do everything together. We golf together. She's my golfing partner. She's good. She's fun to play with. She's competitive. Matter of fact, 3 weeks ago, we played with my daughter and Noah, her son, award-winning chef, by the way, voted #1 chef in Dallas. We played and we beat them by 1 stroke. So, yeah. Anyway, so I'm very proud of that. But if I go past that, and I have to think, and I've been thinking about this, the answer a lot, Matt, John. It's how you treat people. I really enjoy people. I do. I'm fascinated with people. no matter where I go, no matter what I'm doing, I'm striking up conversations to a point where my wife says, "Go in, get the bread, and come right back. Now, don't stop and talk," because I talk to everybody. I'm fascinated by people, and I love it, John. When you said, all around nice guy, see what you got. I'm proud to know that I've held my values. I'm a good person. I treat people with respect. I'm kind to people. And I really had not thought about that much, but now 77 years old, and you're kind of wondering when God's calling me home. I look back and I'm so glad and I'm reminded of it simply by my wife saying, okay, she's got a signal for me now with her fingers. I'll have a hard time saying goodbye.
No.
So, hey, John, it's good seeing you, man. Take care. We'll be in touch soon. Good luck in Sarasota. Hey, John, did you get that deal? Oh, you did? Good. But you went fishing, and here we go. Another goodbye, another goodbye, another goodbye. So she has this thing now. She'll bark way in the background. 5. Which means I've already had 5 goodbyes, and I'll just start laughing, and she is just howling. So, but I think I would want people to realize that you can be let's just say, I know I'm a superstar. I know I'm a celebrity. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of all I've accomplished. I've been so blessed. But people need to know that you can have, John, the greatest notoriety in the world, and if you're a jerk, I got nothing for you. And it's to be a good example for young people, to shake their hand and say hi and get them involved and be nice to everybody, and to keep people say, you know what, celebrities are nice, they are kind, and I'm very proud of that. I was talking to Howie Long yesterday on the phone, because I missed a meeting in the Bahamas. Fox had a meeting down there with all the talent, but I was in Pittsburgh. And Howie and I were talking, and Howie was reminding me that, you're a good guy. You're a good guy. Because I was worried they were going to be mad at me, which they were, but there's nothing I could do about it. You're a good guy. And that's coming from one of my friends that I'm on television with all the time. It just makes me, feel good. You got to know your self-worth. You got to know your importance to your family, to your job, to people in general. You got to know your value. You got to appreciate yourself. And I'm all of that, but I'm mostly proud of the fact that I know for a fact I treat people with kindness, and that makes me feel good.
And I tell you, I saw that firsthand. We were walking from one concourse to the next in the airport, and
I remember.
And obviously people would, Terry, and he talked to everybody, and it was just real.
How do you make the plane?
And it was well, he had a 2-hour layover, but he almost missed it because we got talking to the crowd room. And I had to rush him to his gate. But anyway,
I can't help it. You know what? I can't help it. I seriously, Matt, find people amazing. The other day, I had a guy pull up to the gate. It was a FedEx delivery guy, and he put the packages in front of the gate and was pulling out. And I went, wait a minute. He didn't call anybody. He just left those. And we had given him clear instructions. Do not ever leave a package. People take them. So I banged on this window. He had, what do you call them, AirPods, whatever those, listening to me. I banged on his window. I wasn't a nice guy. I wasn't at all, because he wasn't doing his job. He's paid to do his job, and they had instructions on how. If nobody called, there's a phone right there with everybody's listening. They just push a button, and somebody's going to answer. He didn't push a button. He dropped them. He just dropped them, was getting off. I pulled in right behind him. where he basically couldn't back out. And I was hitting my horn. He totally ignored me because he was listening to music, wasn't doing his job. And I let the young man know that wasn't appreciated and don't ever let it happen again. So there is the other side, you know, I'm not an alpha male, but I can act like one occasionally, but I'm truly not an alpha male at all.
So Terry, let me ask you this: we part of this show is I'm an avid, mediocre to poor golfer. I play a lot with my wife too. John actually played along with my wife and myself down here in Florida when he came to visit us lately. I want you to tell the folks who watch this show, because because you truly were and are one of the greatest athletes of all time. You certainly, I followed your whole career, and I maybe Steve Bartkowski could throw a ball further than you. I don't know, but Bart would probably claim he could, and you would probably say you could throw one further. But
no, that wouldn't be very important to me, man.
Well, here's the thing. For these folks, you talk about the golf that you and your wife play.
Right.
When you play in these tournaments, or when you're playing competitively at all, or whatever, you know, so many golfers, the biggest problem they have is their nerves. They're nervous. What? So tell everybody a secret about how a great athlete can be concentrated and not worry about their shot.
What people say about them, or people laugh at them. You have to. Here's how I handle it. I used to be a decent golfer. Now my average drive is 208 yards. I am very, don't hit the irons at all, but I have a rod in my wrist, left hand. So all my PGX, I went there and got fitted for clubs. All of them are woods. John, I have a 31-degree wood that I choke down. It's a pitching wedge. I back off. It's a 9-iron. I hit it 1,000 miles in the air. I have a sand wedge, and that's it. And that's it. So the thing here, people love, if you're in a tournament, and I don't play hardly any tournaments, but when I did, or if people want to beat you so they can say, "Hey, I beat Terry Bradshaw." Well, you know what? That's fine, because let me tell you what I'm good at. I'm good at being a quarterback. All right. That's enough. That's enough. I love playing golf because my friends play golf, and I don't have many. Most of my friends are dead. I have a brother I play golf with, and I have a friend of mine, Steve Drennan, his wife Christy, in Springfield, Missouri, and they're our golfing buddies. And we travel all over the country playing golf. But it's not important to me to beat you. I have not kept score playing golf 20 years. I never hit out of a sand trap. So my wife doesn't hit. Nobody hits out of sand traps. We pull the ball out, rake it, drop it, hit it. If we hit it out of bounds, we don't go point of victory. We go where it landed. We drop the ball in the fairway. We hit it. We play nothing but scramble golf. It is a blast. And we're fast. And I don't get into, well, I outdrove Bradshaw, or I beat him in horse, or I did this. The other thing I can do is I can artificially inseminate a mare. None of my other buddies can do that. I can fix the prolapse uterus on a cow. Nobody else can do that. I mean, I'm really good at this and I'm good at that. But what I'm good at, John Hall and Matt, is this. If I'm good at something, I'm competitive at something. If I'm not good at it, I'm not competitive. I'm not good at golf, but I love to play golf because of the camaraderie. My wife loves it. I fish with my wife. We compete. She wins and she laughs. And I'm like, hey, you're good. So if I'm good at something, I'm competitive. I'm a good fisherman, I think. So I'm competitive, but I'm going to get beat.
You make good music too. You still singing?
Yeah.
I love it.
John, this year I decided not to tour. I was gone too much. We've gone 250 days last year, and I'm 77. So, no, as much as I love singing, I sang in church the other day. That's my singing now. When I need my crowd fixed. And I got to tell you, singing in front of your home church crowd is the scariest thing I've ever done. I can sing in front. Like when I toured with Brooks and Dunn, or did a show with Brooks and Dunn, there's 10,000 people. It didn't even faze me. But I went in front of 300 people, church members. I was a nervous wreck, So, but I don't tour and sing anymore. I did that. I know I can do it, and I know I can sing. Man, okay, that's good. I had it was fun. I mean, how many people my age have a residency in Vegas? John, answer the phone. That's your phone.
It's a judge.
Hey, Matt, that is just rude, John Hall.
Yeah, well, John, we usually in TV studios, there's a big sign that says, turn off your cell phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, John, have you sent Terry any of your music?
Yes.
I have.
Yes.
What do you think of it, Terry?
I haven't listened to it. No, I'm not going to lie. I haven't listened. I have it, though. But
it's good.
John writes, too. I mean,
yes.
It's, what else does John do? John writes books.
Yeah, the novels.
Murder mystery.
Yeah, John does everything except win lawsuits.
Damn, Terry, this thing was supposed to be an advertisement for the law firm.
I got to tell you, Matt, when I'm talking to John, I never quite figured out what he did and how happy he was. Always happy. Always happy. Yeah. I mean, I call him and he's in the middle of this. He always takes my phone calls, or he calls me right back, and he's always losing. I never could understand losing lawsuits. But if they're suing for $80 million and you settle for $5 million, that's a victory.
A win.
That's a win. But I'm thinking you got to get it wiped off the books. All 80 is 80, right? So I don't mean for all our listeners out there. I'm only having fun with John because
every now and then I do an immaculate reception.
Do you?
Terry, I don't practice much law because I do this polling and TV stuff and all this other nonsense that gets me in so much trouble. And by the way, when it comes to polling, I'm very competitive. I'm the best in the country, along with Rasmussen and Robert Haley and a few others.
I like polling. I like listening to polling. I like how people come up with the percentages is fascinating to me.
And Terry, here's the thing about polling. A pollster, if we miss a race by 2 points, they'll beat us to death. And I tell them, I say, okay, this is the equivalent of you taking a dart and trying to take that dart and throw it across a football field.
And hit a bullseye.
Hit a bullseye. That's how hard it is. So,
yeah.
But I will say this for John Hall. When I was at the law firm in Atlanta, or even here, every time I talked to anybody at the firm, all I ever heard was, well, John won another big case. John won another big case. So he must be telling you about the losing cases because all I hear about are the winners.
Matt, throwing a football the length of the field and hitting a bullseye as an excuse, you're not missing it. You're not tell that to Terry. He hits his bullseyes.
Well, I said a dart. Dart.
I apologize, but I got an African gray, and when I'm talking, he thinks it's time for him to talk. And this is a talking sucker. I mean, this is a talking bird. I think I'm losing it. He actually answers my stuff. How you doing this morning, Stevie? I'm doing fine. I mean, it's scary. That's scary. My wife says, who are you talking to? I said, I'm talking to Stevie. And I said, the sucker's starting to answer me. She said, honey, are you okay? I said, maybe I'm not.
Well, you've been through a storm today.
Yeah.
Big storms y'all have had out there, and I know you've been awfully gracious to give us your time, Terry. We so appreciate it.
Is it over? Is my time over?
It's never over for you, Terry.
How many goodbyes are we going to have today, John?
Well, I don't know. How many do you want to have? We can do another goodbye.
I'm fascinated. I met
Well, that Terry Bradshaw is the greatest in the world, isn't he, John? You're so lucky to have made such a good friend with Terry.
I tell you, he is as genuine as you think he is. You wonder about folks like that. He cares, and he's friendly. He greets everybody, and he is funny as he can be.
He sure as heck is. I tell you what, I didn't tell Terry. I won't go into detail. They'll know who I'm talking about. But I played in a tournament recently, and a couple of guys showed up wearing uniforms, matching uniforms. As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, jeez, these are some serious people." So I have to remember, I am the best pollster in America, one of the best pollsters in America. I am competitive at that. I'm not at golf. I just there for good times, and I hope most of you are as well. We'll have more talk about golf next week. Let's wrap this thing up by saying where we are right now in this situation with Iran. I was in D.C. last week visiting with some fairly significant folks. Didn't talk about the war, but I got the idea that the White House was prepared for this thing to go on a bit longer, and I think it's partially because this has turned into an economic battle, as you know, John. The UAE has pulled out of the organization that controls the distribution of oil, the group OPEC. It is going to start pumping more or getting more barrels out. That's going to be oil that comes to us. Iran is going to find their ability to store oil and to transport oil increasingly difficult. And when they can't do that, of course, they can't get any money to keep the regime going. How much longer do you think this thing goes, John?
I think the actual conflict, we're probably talking at least a few more weeks, 2 or 3, 4 weeks if the country can live through it. But I think you're going to see that change in tide with, as you were saying, UAE really kind of breaking the OPEC control over limits on what oil can be produced. And I believe we're going to see a lot more oil flooding the market that'll be able to help the economy, that'll give everything a big boost. But even more in terms of these changes is the freedom of the Arab states now to be true international and world leaders by partnering, not being limited by whether you're Jewish or not. And I think we're going to see a whole region change that's going to be amazing in retrospect. So,
John, with my Southern accent and my obvious lack of intelligence, it always shocks people to find out that my real degree was at Cambridge in international relations, in international law. It was actually, and what I didn't realize is it was a research degree, so you step above a BA, a step above an MA, and I couldn't understand why all these military people were in all my classes. And it turns out half the thing was training spies, and obviously I didn't qualify. But we had courses in all types of military strategy. At that time, it was tactical and strategic nuclear studies and things that I didn't think I could ever follow. But one of the things I learned in being over there is that the blockade is one of the most effective ways of waging war without having to obviously engage in actual fire, use of weapons, unless absolutely necessary. And obviously Kennedy did that effectively with Cuba. This blockade has worked very well. I will say this. I believe the one mistake that we're making is we are placing on the United States and our efforts the Strait of Hormuz as being our responsibility. I think at some point Europe, as they have talked about doing, needs to come in and come up with their own plan for securing the strait, because they are dependent on it much more than the United States. And at some point you got to declare when. I believe in the end Trump will take out some of the storage locations in those islands. I think that he may take out some of the power plants that are necessary, particularly those that are closer to where they might be up to mischief with the nuclear substances they have. And at some point he'll declare war, not declare war, he'll declare a win and get the hell out of there. And that's what he needs to do, because I have to tell you, politically speaking, the midterms are a problem. until we get out of Iran, at least for the Republicans. So I'm thinking, what your thought?
I think you're right. What's the most disappointing? Well, not the most disappointing. One of the disappointing part of this is the lack of backbone in Europe. And if Europe does not wake up and find their soul and find those things that led them to be great and to create a world based on their culture, if Europe doesn't wake up, then we are in trouble. And I think that's what Trump's waiting on, is for them to step up. And I just hope at one point somebody there steps up. And maybe with the visit with King Charles this week, maybe that'll send some messages back. And somewhere in Europe, they got to stand up.
My fellow alumnus, King Charles. Boy, we have a lot in common, don't we? Not. He would be embarrassed to know I graduated from Cambridge. All right, on that lovely note, John, keep it secure up there in that crazy land of Atlanta for me, will you, while I go chase a little white ball and talk a little politics on TV, and let's get together next week. I don't know how we're going to top Terry, though. Thank you, Terry Bradshaw, for being our very special guest. And so for John Hall, I'm Matt Towery. Join us next week on the Leaderboard.